And welcome to our session today. One of my colleagues, Tiffany Stoll from the University of Virginia, is going to be here talking to us about the sign-up tool. But first, a few standard operating procedures before we get to her presentation. First of all, I don't know if any project team reps are here this morning, but if you are here, could you maybe give us some status updates? I see that Louisa's here. Any status updates, Louisa? Oh, okay. Louisa says no, so that's great. Sounds like everything is going okay on all project fronts, and hopefully we'll hear from the team reps next week if anything comes up. Louisa does note in the chat that there are plenty of discussions going on in the listserv, and she recommends that anybody who's interested respond to the listserv, which has been very active for the last week. If you all get those daily emails or get those digested like I do, you see that there's been a lot of good discussion going on. So I definitely second Louisa and recommend that you take a look at that if you haven't already and chime in if you haven't already. So that's great. So we're going to move on, I guess, to the JIRA of the week. And we did have one request to maybe talk about some lessons JIRAs this week, but since Fawe has been especially interested in that and he is not on the call at the moment, maybe we will go ahead and put that off for next week or the week after, and instead talk about the JIRA that I originally posted. And I will go ahead and paste that into the chat for those of you who haven't already seen it. That JIRA is SAC 26147, which is Draft Syllabus Items Need a Text Indicator. This is a JIRA that was originally created by Tricia. So Tricia, if you don't mind, do you mind coming on the mic and maybe saying just a little bit about where you were coming from with this JIRA and why you thought it might be helpful?
So Matt, I'm happy. Did you hear what I said? Sorry.
We didn't, Tricia. Sorry about that.
No, I've got a lot of latency with the audio, so I'm not sure if it's probably mine. And I'm understand what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're getting a little latency from you also, Tricia. Sorry about that.
No problem. So maybe you could just read the description.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So one of the things that Tricia pointed out here is that in the current syllabus tool, there are only two pretty subtle indicators that a syllabus item is in draft mode. One is the color of that light bulb icon that's there, and the other is the color of the title text. If it's active, the text is aqua colored, and if it's draft, the text color is gray. So Tricia proposed adding a draft label, an actual label that could be placed there in addition to these indicators to make it a little clearer what you have in draft mode and what you have that is actually active and visible for students and other site participants to see. Anybody have any thoughts or comments or questions on this one? Anybody else been using the syllabus tool? You know, I know that this is a tool that has gone through some fairly radical changes. Louisa says that she likes the proposal a lot. I do think it would be helpful to make things clearer. It's always helpful to clear things up for faculty about what they can see and what everybody can see. And I certainly agree with what both Tricia and Saul are saying in the chat, which is, you know, from a UI perspective, something that's more obvious is good. And Jennifer also notes that they use it and they've had trouble making sure things are published, that maybe faculty think things are published that are actually in draft, and because it's so subtle, it's hard to tell. And that's a great idea, especially for people who work primarily in front end support like me, who then don't have to answer those questions of, well, people can't see it because it's not actually published. And Luis also notes that if you added a draft there, it would be similar to the interface and announcement and assignments where there is a text indicator of what's in draft. And faculty have been using those tools and seeing that already. So that would be, a nice piece of continuity with other tools in Sakai. And I do think that's a great point. We've had some discussion about language being different in places in different parts of Sakai, for example, the schedule tool and the calendar tool. So I think continuity of language is something that is relatively simple. We don't necessarily think about it a whole lot, but it's something that can mean a lot to users, both faculty and students. So that's a great point. And Tricia does ask in the comments that for those of you who support this change, if you could comment in the JIRA, just so folks know that there is some support, some active support for making this change, that would be great. And Tiffany makes an important point in the comments that if there's no other indicator than color, this is going to be very important for accessibility issues. Obviously, accessibility issues are becoming more and more important for all of us who work in education generally. And so if we can add something that's more than just a color change or an icon change, that's a great idea. So thanks everybody for those comments. And remember to continue looking at the issues that are tagged with the TL tag to suggest JIRAs of the week. And if you have suggestions for JIRAs of the week, things that you'd like us to spend just a few minutes talking about, features that you might like to introduce or that you're recommending be introduced, feel free to email those to me or to Tricia or to Neil or to all three of us, and we can put those before the group so that we can talk about them. Okay, so I think at this point I am going to go ahead and hand over control of the session, difficult as it is for me, to my colleague Tiffany Stoll, who is here to talk to us a little bit about the sign-up tool and how we are using it here at UVA, and hopefully how it can help people at other institutions if they're not using it already. So go ahead and take it away, Tiffany.
Hi. So the sign-up tool has a number of very good uses for both student, instructor student use and for meetings from other sorts of groups. Some ways in which it's used are I've seen people use it to sign up for study groups, for different kinds of interviews, like faculty interviews in a department or for student interviews. People use it to take attendance. You can have it for different kinds of meetings, advising, students sign up for presentations. And it automatically generates groups if you select that option. So you can have students download information about the other members of their groups using the export to Excel feature. So that's a nice feature of the sign up tool. So I'm going to talk about a couple of these features. So one thing you can do is you can create a meeting with multiple time slots. So for instance, if you wanted to create a meeting set that goes over the course of, say, a week or a couple of weeks, and have each student sign up for one slot to give a presentation, or each member of a group sign up to give a presentation, you can do that. It allows you also to restrict the sign up so that each person can only sign up for one slot, and you can also make it possible to sign up for multiple slots if you prefer that. For each individual to sign up for multiple slots. It also provides wait lists. So if you have a slot that only allows for one individual to sign up, you can have a wait list of other people signing up for that slot. And this is an indication of where you would limit the slots. There are a set of settings that are hidden by default. It's under other default settings. So you can make that visible by clicking on the default settings link. And there are options to allow participants to add comments during sign up. You can publish the meeting to the schedule or calendar tool. And like I said, you have a wait list option. And some of the example use cases, as I mentioned here, are to allow each student to sign up for only one time slot if they're giving presentations, or set up advising appointments for students, or for other types of purposes, setting up appointments with individuals. And in the groups option, you can select create groups for time slots, and it will create a group that you can then manage using site info manage groups. You can go in there and add members, and you can actually also add members manually to a sign up at the time of creating the sign up event. So it doesn't require that members of the site go in and sign up themselves. You can actually add them yourself. The automatically generated groups will give you a sign-up slot as the group name, and the date of that event. And then it'll tell you what the maximum size of that set for the group is. And when you go into site info and manage groups to change the membership or edit these groups in any other way, you can then go into sign up and sync the groups back in with the time slot. So you would go into the sign up tool and edit the time slots and click a button to synchronize with the manage groups option. And this is a screenshot of where that is located. After you've edited it in manage groups, you use the synchronize button under group membership to update the time slots in sign up. And you can share participant details in an Excel output file. So one of the options when you create the sign up or edit the sign up event is to allow participants to see other attendees' information. So for example, if you have students who can't normally see each other's email IDs or email addresses, this is a way that you can allow the group members to communicate with one another, that they can go into their sign up tool and export the event as an Excel file, see who all is in that event if you have allowed that feature to be selected. And you can also export the events as calendar files, so you can import it into, say, Outlook or your Outlook calendar. You can take attendance using the sign up tool. So you can go in and check off the members who have attended the event. There's an option to select all signed up. So if you need to select all the attendees who are in that particular group, you can do that by just checking the one box to select all signed up members. And it also allows you to view the number of attendees who are signed up if there's nobody there, it'll show you. Here's a link to the sign up working group, Confluence wiki. So that's an additional resource that you can use for more information on sign up. And if anybody has any questions or comments.
And Tricia notes in the chat that we at UVA are using the attendance option to track attendance for workshops for UVA Collab, which is our local instance of Sakai that we're going to be using before the fall semester starts in August. So thank you very much, Tiffany. That was a great presentation with some nice visuals of how the sign-up tool can work and what it can do for you. Questions, comments, thoughts about this from the group? Feel free to write your comments in the chat or come on the mic. First of all, anybody else using this tool right now? That's a great question to ask. Jennifer asks, is the tool available for version 10 in Sakai already? For example, that it can be exported to Calendar.
Yes, yes it is.
And Tiffany and Tricia both note that yes, it is a core tool in Sakai 10.
And if you cause the sign up tool to send out an email to your attendees, it will attach the little calendar file that you can just open up right into Outlook.
And Louisa points out in the chat that the attendance option is so nice, and it is something that we don't necessarily think about, a nice little feature that's already built into a core tool that many people may not know is there, but can be a really nice feature. Jerry asks whether UVA has made any custom changes to the tool or whether we're just using it out of the box.
I think we are just using it out of the box. I don't think we've made any changes to it.
And Tricia concurs that we are just using it out of the box. So we have not made any custom changes to it at this time. So all of these amazing features that Tiffany just showed you are available to all of you right now for the low, low price of $0 because you're already using Sakai, or you should be. So in the chat, Diego notes that attendance only allows to mark the attendees in the meetings where people sign up, not in the open ones. So a feature that can show all the people in the site, not only the signed up people, would be great. He would like to use Sign Up Tool as a general attendance tool. So Tiffany or Tricia, do you all have any thoughts on that?
Well, one thing you could do as a workaround is make an open meeting that everybody can sign up for, or manually input all of the members of the site. You can actually select in the groups option, if you have decided to create groups for the sign up meeting, you can go into manage groups and add everybody in a role. So you can add, all of the students in the site to the group automatically in the groups, manage groups, and then go in and sync that to sign up and take the attendance there.
And Tricia concurs that instructors can manually add participants to sign up events. And Luis and Jerry have noted in the chat that now faculty is going to request that attendance be added to the gradebook. So sorry, gradebook people, this is probably going to mean more work for you. Our bad. Other questions, comments, thoughts about sign up? Nick notes in the chat that they have a homegrown tool for workshop training signups, and one thing that it has that might be interesting is a way to gather feedback on the workshop. And Nick, where are you? What institution is that? Oh, at Texas State. Okay, okay. And that is interesting, the possibility of gathering feedback right there within the tool. Other thoughts about that? Is that a Sakai tool, Nick, or is that something that's purely homegrown? Oh, okay. It's apparently just a standalone app. But that is interesting. Other people, are you interested in adding some kind of feedback option where people can provide feedback about the meetings that they're signing up for? Does that sound like something that would appeal to you or appeal to your faculty?
One thing you can do in sign up is allow for comments, and I don't know if it allows people to add comments after the meeting. I know it does when at the time when they sign up, they can type in a comment if you enable that option.
Hmm. Hmm. And Taejin asks, wouldn't you want to have feedback in the tool that you are running the workshop in? So thoughts about that? Would it be better to have feedback in the tool that you're actually running the workshop in? And personally, I don't know if that's necessarily an absolute. I think that you want to be able to gather feedback in some kind of useful way. But as long as you can gather that feedback usefully, I don't know that it has to be in that particular tool. Louisa notes in the chat that she's thinking it would be useful to add a link to the meeting event page in the sign up tool so that it can provide easy access for the students. Uh,
Yeah,
Thoughts about that?
yeah, you can do that when you create the event. You add a summary or description. I think it's called description, the field. I don't remember exactly. And you enter that information in. So it will send out, if you decide to send email to participants, it'll send out an email to edit, add links and whatnot, as Tricia mentioned.
And Tricia does mention that we at UVA have used Samigo surveys for workshop evaluations, and you can attach a link to that survey or include it in the sign up invitation so that you can go directly through that link to the survey and take the survey right there. And Louisa notes that in the editor, you can link to assignments and some other tools directly, but not the meetings tool. Anybody else familiar with the meetings tool? I'm not sure that that's what we are using here at UVA. Anybody else familiar with that? Oh, I see. Big Blue Button, which is not what we use here at UVA. Actually, we use Blackboard Collaborate. So that's why we don't know anything about that particular link because that's not a tool that we happen to use here.
Can you capture that link for the meeting and just paste it in to the editor? Or indicate what meeting room to type in? Oh, I see.
Oh, I see. Louisa notes in the chat that she's not sure if each individual meeting in Big Blue Button or in the meetings tool has a unique link, a unique URL. So that might prevent that from being a simple link, unfortunately. So it sounds like at the present time, you can provide URL links to certain tools, but not others if they don't have a unique URL, for example.
Well, if it has a URL after the meeting starts, you can at least edit the meeting, put that in, I think.
Which would go with something that Taejin said in the chat, that when meetings start, they do have a unique link, and then maybe at that point, if you wanted to edit it, then you could do so. So that is cool. Thank you for that, Taejin. That's really helpful. And Salwa notes something that Louisa mentioned earlier in the chat, which is that Texas State does have an attendance tool. Salwa, do you want to say a little more, write a little more about that, about how you think that tool might compare with sign up? Are there positives, negatives, something like that? Trisha happened to see it when she was at the Apereo conference in Baltimore. It looks like Jolie saw it also and was also impressed. So it sounds like you guys are doing some good stuff there. Oh, okay. Nick notes that Texas State's attendance tool is really targeted at class time, so there's not necessarily anything there about signing up. So it sounds like it's something slightly different. And Yanhua notes that it's an LTI support tool and it is integrated with gradebooks. So that's something that I know that a lot of instructors at a lot of different schools will be very interested in, gradebook integration. And Trisha asks in the chat whether or not Texas State has contributed this tool back to Sakai. So Salwa or any of you who are on the call from Texas State, do you guys know if you've contributed that back yet? Oh, okay. So Nick notes that it's an LTI provider tool, so it is up on GitHub. The code is available there, but it doesn't belong in the Sakai source. Okay. And Nick also notes that it's a Ruby on Rails project. So thanks for that additional information, Nick. Now we can go and steal it. So that's awesome. And we also have a request to post that link to GitHub into the chat. So Nick, if you have that available and you don't mind, or Yanhua, if you have that and don't mind, that would be great. Thanks, Nick, for putting that link in the chat. That's awesome. So it sounds like there are institutions that are definitely interested in attendance type tools, whether it's something like sign up or something more like the attendance tool that Texas State is doing. And there is an interest for integrating these tools with other tools like gradebooks. So it sounds like integration, as we've seen, is a big deal and something that a lot of people are interested in, how tools can talk to other tools and work together with other tools. So that's really cool. Any other comments, thoughts, questions for Tiffany, who has done a great job since originally Adam Marshall was going to be her dialogue partner on this, and unfortunately Adam is on vacation this week, and so Tiffany shouldered this burden all by herself and became queen of sign up all by herself. So that was really awesome, and we're really grateful to her for doing that. So any other comments, thoughts, questions about sign up? Okay, so maybe we'll talk for just a few minutes about our upcoming meetings and then possibly get out a little early since we didn't have Adam's contributions here, and hopefully we'll hear those another time once he comes back from vacation. One change to the schedule that I wanted to point out for everybody is that Wilma Hodges from Longsight, who is going to give a presentation on our UX testing updates, had a conflict with her original date, which was August the 19th. And so Wilma has now moved her session from August 19th to September the 9th. So that's why if you look on the Etherpad, that September the 9th session is bolded because that's a change. Wilma's going to be giving that presentation now on September the 9th. So now we do have an opening on August 19th. So we could take suggestions for that meeting, or we could look at our list of unscheduled topics, or as Tricia suggests in the chat, we might cancel for back to school. You know, for those of you who are calling in from the US, that's probably a time that's very busy for you with the beginning of the fall semester. I know it is for us here at UVA. So maybe we could hear from some people about if we'd like to have a meeting or if we'd like to cancel, first of all, and then if we would like to have a meeting, what we might like to talk about there. So first of all, anybody have thoughts? Anybody prefer to cancel because of back to school? It sounds like Louisa would be in favor of canceling. She has back-to-back workshops. And Tricia notes that we do too. So that might be UVA's preference as well. Jennifer also has a workshop. So I think at this point, it sounds like people are leaning towards canceling that meeting. And if anybody else wants to chat yay or nay, that would be wonderful. And Jerry chats raw, okay, which I think counts double. Thanks, Jerry. So it sounds like the consensus is in favor of canceling. So I will go ahead and make that note. So at this point, we will cancel both August 19th and August 26th. So after Jerry talks to us about the e-learning fellows program on August the 12th, then we will take a 2-week hiatus, and our next session will be Faway's session on lessons on September the 2nd. So thanks everybody for kind of giving us some feedback so that we have a better sense of everyone's schedules and who's available and who's not. Because I think that will prevent us from having an empty meeting and possibly wasting somebody's time in preparing a presentation for that day. So that's great. And next week, of course, Jolie Tingen from Duke is going to be talking about warp wire. So I know that I am very excited to hear about that. I got to meet Jolie at the Apereo conference, and she was talking with Tricia and I a little bit about the work that they've been doing with warp wire, and they were getting really excited about it. So we're definitely looking forward to hearing Jolie talk about that. And Taejin notes in the chat that Gordon Conwell is very excited about it also. So definitely a lot of interest in warp wire. So thanks, Jolie, for agreeing to talk about that. I think it's going to be a great presentation. And then the following week, of course, Jerry's going to talk to us a little bit about the e-learning fellows program that Dayton has prepared, which I think is something that all of us who don't have a similar program might want to consider adopting. So that's awesome too. Taejin notes that they're especially excited about WarpWire because they would like to move away from Kaltura. Are there specific problems that you've been having with Kaltura, Taejin, that have caused you all to want to make a move? Oh, okay. So Taejin notes that the media galleries never really work for them, so they're looking for a different solution there. So maybe Jolie can provide some more information and a possible solution there. So that would be great. So it looks like we are now booked up through September the 16th. After Faway, Wilma will give her rescheduled UX presentation, and then the following week, Neil is going to talk a little bit about the QA script development for lessons. And then we also have a few unscheduled topics that we can start to think about and plug into the following weeks. So we've got a little bit of time to think about those. And if you have any unscheduled topics that you're interested in, that you would like to add to that list, things that you'd like to talk about maybe as we move into the fall semester, that would be great. You can either suggest them right now on the mic or in the chat, or you can email them to us or bring them up at any meeting at any time, and we can add those to the list so that we can get them scheduled for the fall semester. So I'm getting more and more excited about WarpWire now because Diego is saying, don't lose this webinar. WarpWire is great. So Jolie, the pressure is now on you because everybody is raving about this product and how good it is. So no pressure, but it's awesome. So looks like we're going to get out a little bit early. And a great reminder from Louisa before we go that the Birds of a Feather, for people who are interested in transitioning from Milete to lessons, will be Wednesday, August the 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. So if you are interested in this, if you are working with Milete and you would like to transition to lessons, please plan to attend that session. There are going to be good people there, and there's going to be some good discussion there. So please put that on your calendar, Wednesday, August the 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. And Tricia asked in the chat whether or not that session is going to be recorded. Louisa, do you know by any chance if that session is going to be recorded? Okay. And Louisa thinks that it probably will be. So hopefully that will be recorded, and that'll be great. And we can certainly ask Neil when Neil returns from a well-deserved vacation. So Neil, wherever you are, I hope you are not listening to this call and you are having a good time somewhere. So unless anybody has any final thoughts or comments or questions, we will go ahead and adjourn a little early today so that everybody can get back to their regularly scheduled programming. Thanks so much, everybody, for taking some time and having a good discussion here. And we will look forward to seeing everybody right back here next Wednesday. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording. So thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week.